They're here.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And this week, we are only 6 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 6 more days till Halloween, Spooky Tuesday.
Gorgeous.
Spooky Tuesday.
Listen,
We made it up ourselves.
We made it up ourselves. And I am just like feeling a buzz. I'm now officially 32. Who would have known? Who would have known?
Same age as the mom in this movie.
Oh, no, don't.
Which we need to discuss. No, because it's fucked up. Her daughter's 16. No. I don't know what's happening in this film.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We don't even know what film we're doing. You guys didn't see the episode title when you clicked to listen to this
You
episode.
don't know what exactly it is.
Let her tell him, Chelsea.
Do. It's Poltergeist.
Yay!
Thank you. I need all of your validation.
It's an 80s movie. And what is Sydney's favorite thing?
Sydney's favorite thing?
Yeah, what is my favorite thing?
It's 80s
and
movies.
fake blood. And fake blood. You can't see it.
But there's not that much of that in this movie.
No,
well,
but Monica's
I'm wearing
on it.
fake blood.
Yeah.
Because it's our Halloween episode.
Very
Even though there's 6 more days
scary.
until Halloween.
Yeah, well, this is as close as I could get. I forgot it was our Halloween episode until 2 minutes before. So I put blood on my face and then it got in my eye. And then I have a real tear streak of blood running down my face now. So yeah, this is pretty metal.
What's really beautiful about this episode, though, is that Sydney's actually cosplaying as Carol Ann right now.
Yes, I just actually happen to have a very
little Victorian dress.
Old moo-moo that was definitely from Walmart.
Oh, it's stunning.
And she cut her hair just like Carol Ann.
Yeah, my hair's always been like Carol Ann. It's the bangs. It's the bangs.
Sydney and Carol Ann are one and the same. And I have many argument points to make that clear.
Okay, well, listener, if you, like Chelsea until recently, had never seen this movie before, Poltergeist, according to IMDb, is a family's home is haunted by a host of demonic ghosts. And that's it. That's the only
rhyme.
Short, sweet, simple.
Rhyme.
It rhymes.
Host of demonic ghost.
Yeah.
Oh.
Host ghost rhymes.
Host ghost
rhymes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Slant rhyme.
Yeah.
Oh.
Chelsea, I can't believe you've never seen this before. Watching this movie, I was so fucking excited. I was as excited as the first time I saw it. This shit slaps. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I told you guys before we started recording, but the house looks so much like houses in my neighborhood when I grew up. I think even maybe potentially it could have been designed by the same company or whatever. They were all built the same year. But it felt very cozy to me, which I said to you and you were like, it's not supposed to be cozy. But guess what? It did.
Chelsea watches Poltergeist, a movie about a malevolent ghost intruding your home. And it looks like her house, and she's like, how sweet, I feel comforted.
Comfy,
and I
cozy.
saw my house in Nightmare on Elm Street when I was under the influence and thought that Freddy was gonna come to my house. So these are differing experiences. I don't like to see my house in horror things because I'm like, that means the door is open for it to be real, even more than I already have with my wild imagination. I'm happy for you that you felt cozy.
I just thought it was nice. I liked all of their home decor. I really liked all of their gorgeous bed frames. The parents' one looked just like one I had in college that I got from my Nana's house.
That's perfect. It's just like Nana's
I
house.
love that.
I had so much white wicker furniture growing up. They had white wicker furniture.
Who didn't have white wicker furniture growing up, man? Like, what a thing. What a
It
time.
sounds like your parents decorated the house in the 80s.
I think they watched this movie and they just took notes, maybe.
They were like, I'm also very comforted and cozy by this movie. Let's decorate
If
the
you
house
just
that looks
ignore
exactly
the
like
hell
it.
beast, then
Right.
this is a really lovely home.
This is a gorgeous house. The ghosts probably felt so at home there because it was so well decorated. Let's copy it exactly.
Look, not to get too into the plot, but it seems most of the ghosts were not having any trouble until a malicious, malevolent something or other came along. So, I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
It's that high vaulted ceiling. It calls
And the
to
beam
the
in
void,
the middle
you know?
of the parents' house,
Oh, I love
there's
that
something
beam.
about that.
I love an exposed beam.
I like their staircase. Anyway,
The staircase is incredible. Also, Carol Ann was born in this house.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They've been living there for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's been fine until now. That's all I'm saying. You're not gonna let one bad experience ruin your home for you? I don't think so.
I don't think they really had a choice at the end there, but we'll get to that. Oh man. I just am so glad that we did this movie so I got to watch it again because I remember I really liked it, but I cried at the end of this movie because I thought it was so cool. I've just been on one the past couple of weeks, so that's probably part of it. But I was like, this is awesome. And I don't usually cry in joy at a film. So, you know, Sob
Monica
Fest
wept.
October. I wept tears of blood. But I love just the beginning of this movie too, because I think they do such a good job of setting up this like adorable family unit. And it makes you fall in love with every single one of these characters like right away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cute the way that they're like peeking in all of the bedrooms, the way that they've got the dog visiting, stealing Data's chips, spilling them all over. Ebuz, by the way, what a name!
What
for
a
dog.
name.
I just realized I forgot
Ebuz?
to read IMDb
Ebuz.
trivia. Okay,
I
Uh-oh.
learned that because I am an older lady now and I have to have subtitles on my TV at all times.
Mhm.
So that's the only way I've ever known the dog's name was Ebuz because it says it.
That is like a preposterous name, but whatever, you know. They're a fun, funky group of 80s folk. So
Okay,
who
but
am I
here's the
to
thing.
judge?
The dad is so sexy to me in this movie. And I love their relationship, like where they're
Yeah.
like
I do
after like the kids are in
too.
bed and they're like
They're up
we're
smoking pot.
they're smoking pot, they're like joking, they're like what is it, they're razzing each other.
Mhm.
Razzing.
See,
Yeah, and apparently like that whole scene, like they mostly ad-libbed it. So those two actors just had really good chemistry. She was like actually hysterical when he was doing that before and after tummy thing,
which is so funny,
which was fucking funny. Yeah, I just think that they do a good job of making them seem like a couple that's actually in love and like actually like developing the relationships with like what they give you. It in these first few scenes before shit starts to get fucked, you know?
Yeah, which is great because as I mentioned earlier, she's 32 and she has a 16-year-old daughter. So these happy parents have gone a long way in the last 16 years from having a baby to being developers and having this home. And
I am 99.9% sure that her daughter is just her daughter. They say that.
do they?
Yes. The dad is like,
Oh.
this is my wife's daughter.
Dana.
What's her Dana. And then this is my son and my daughter, blah, blah, blah. Which makes it sound weird, but he loves her. It's fine.
But here's the thing too, like why even have Dana? She's like not really a big factor in this movie at all.
They
How
need to show that
dare
some
you.
family member is smart enough to just be like, I'm going to my friend's house. Goodbye.
I
I'm
liked
not
her.
gonna
She
be
did a
here.
really big scared scream a lot of times, and it was very visceral, and I liked it.
Her flipping off the construction crew was very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, but why were they hitting on her? She's baby.
I know.
Unless there's
also,
an established rapport,
80s.
I couldn't tell what the vibe was there.
well, the mom
They were
was
still
like
being weird, but-
laughing.
Yeah, and then he leaned in through the window and he took a sip of soup. So
Yeah,
either they're
and
just so unbelievably familiar, or these are like the construction guys who work with the dad. Maybe not that that makes it okay for them to be
that makes
calling
it
the
actually worse
16-year-old.
in my
They're just
opinion.
But maybe
razzing
it's
her,
like
okay?
an inside joke. Yeah.
Just having a light
That's also
razz.
weird.
What's
Also-
a light razz
anyway.
between friends?
A little
Uh,
light razz between friends.
Oh man. But okay, the most unrealistic thing for me, and I know it's just for me, but I could never fall asleep with the TV on
Oh, I fall
for
Okay,
asleep
that
with
wait.
TV on
long until
all
it
the
goes to the
time.
hiss. I know, but I can't. I couldn't be me. A lot
Sorry.
of other things that are stupid in this movie could be me though.
Yeah.
But not that.
Okay, IMDb trivia says, because I'm scrolling through now while we're podcasting, that a lot of people think the whole wife is 13, daughter is 16 is interesting, and think that Diane, the mom, was a teen mom. But apparently the novelization clarifies opposite of what you're saying. Diane is Steve's second wife, and Dana is Diane's stepdaughter, Steve's daughter from a previous relationship.
Oh,
And we don't know
okay,
how old
okay.
he
Maybe
is. He
I
never says
misheard
his age.
maybe I misunderstood what he said.
But
But
either
yeah.
way, it's interesting that they clarified that in the novel, because it sure opened my eyes when I heard it in the film.
Yeah, totally. Wait.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Falling asleep,
The joke
static on
time?
the TV.
Fun fact about the static on the TV. So when like programs were over for us, you would just like run infomercials and stuff like that, but there was
Yeah.
always
Mhm.
something like back in the 70s and 80s when the program was over, they would literally just play the national anthem and then it was just static. Like that's it. Like so that was like actually what was on the TV at the time.
Oh, interesting.
Like every night when like the programming was over, they would play the national anthem and then the static would be on. So if you turn the TV on at like 4 a.m, it would just be static until like the news the next
That's
morning.
so weird.
Well, that's what I figured was the case because I was like, otherwise, this would be hella weird for viewers in the 80s. So I just assumed, like, oh, that must have been what
A
they
thing.
did. It was a time before the all night infomercial.
The
Wow.
before time. Yeah.
The before time.
Yeah, when you didn't have like softcore porn on in the middle of the night. Like, come on.
Totally unbelievable.
That was my favorite part about the night was all of the like softcore porn you could find on television. The 90s, man. Wild.
Wild. Oh, I also love that. Okay, well, this is a question actually. Do we think
Uh-huh.
that Tweety's death was suspicious?
A
Was
murder.
Tweety killed by the poltergeist?
I think it was an omen, bare minimum,
Okay, yeah, fair. They hadn't really infiltrated the house as much then, but I love that Carol Ann is like so upset. She's doing
She's
all
so
this cute little girl shit. She's like,
Okay.
a picture for when he's lonely. She's got the
But-
cutest voice in the world.
Why is the mom trying to flush a bird down the toilet?
What is she trying to? You can't flush a bird, bitch.
It is similar to the size of a turd, so
No.
I think it would
It
probably
does
go down
rhyme.
okay.
What
Bird and
what
turd.
kind of turds are you doing, Monica? That's a
Bird
is
sized
very
I'm
ones.
I'm a healthy woman, and that was a parakeet. Okay, I've definitely taken a parakeet-sized shit before, and if you haven't, you're lying. I'll admit it on the record.
on the record.
But poor Tweety, gone too soon. But I just love that the mom was like, "Could you freaking die on a school day? Like, go replace him." Oh my god.
Dark, so funny.
But Carol Ann's like so upset. And then the second he's in the ground, she's like, can I have a goldfish now?
And not only does she get that goldfish, she gets a second goldfish as well. Caroline.
And they're going to be
Carol
dead
Ann wants.
tomorrow because she fed it way too much.
Sure.
Also, this is an aside, but like I would never allow a man with that many exploding beers into my home.
But he did such a good job carrying. It's not, I mean, he should have just abandoned the beers once shit got fucked. But I was very impressed by his ability to bike home with 24 beers under his one arm.
I would have had to been restrained to stay away from those children.
Yeah.
I would have fought those children. I would have it would have been bad.
Watch out, children. Monica's gonna get you.
If you
just don't get her
24
first.
beers. Okay, here's the secret. Don't get 24. And then if you wear bike bibs, you can stick the beers into where your belly is. And I've done that before and it works very well. But no kid sabotage was around. So there you go.
I'll keep that in mind next time I'm ever on a bicycle.
I got you, girl. Also, I have to say that the son is smart because Robbie, that tree is suspicious.
It looks like a big ass bug with big ass bug arms reaching for him through the window. That's what it looks like.
It's a suspect tree. It's not a good tree. It doesn't even have any leaves. It's way too bulbous. I've never seen a tree that bulbous. There's something up with that. Wrong. Cursed tree. He knew. But
how long?
I don't actually trust him because he has the clown.
Yes. How long has he been suspicious of this tree since they've lived in this house for like 6 years? Did it like just recently turn ugly and scary, or has it been like an ominous presence that he has disliked his almost entire life?
Well, I think that part of the thing, I don't know who, maybe it's the red hair lady who knows about ghosts. Maybe it was Richard Lawson. I don't remember his character's name. It could have been
Ryan.
Any one of the spooky people, but they're like, it becomes your worst fears. And I think one of his worst fears was the tree. And so that's why the tree ate him. And then his other worst fear was the clown. And so the clown gets him later. So that's the only one that I could put together like that. Cause I know that it's the redhead lady. She says that. But I mean, I guess maybe the mom's worst fear was her baby being sucked into a vortex. Yeah,
I mean, IMDb trivia said something about how Robbie's character was given like two of Steven Spielberg's childhood fears, the clown in the tree outside of his window. I kind of feel like if you had asked him last year, he would not have been afraid of either of those things. But there's like a spooky vibe. There's something spooky in the air that's making him afraid of things that are normal type. Because like he already owns that clown. You know what I mean? And if he was that afraid of it, he would not go to sleep every night with it facing him. But he throws his jacket over it and it's got Chewbacca on the back. And then he's like even afraid of the Chewbacca staring at him. So I think he's just spooked.
Okay, hear me out though. It's that thing that happens with kids where like, you know, there's that baby and he loves Michael Myers. There's all those babies and they love Michael Myers. When you're a little kid, some scary things don't register as scary. So like you love a clown. For me, I loved my piano teacher and I thought that she was cool and nice when I was a little baby. And then when I grew older, I was like, she is actually scary and I think she's a witch. And so I quit piano lessons. So as I grew older, I became more paranoid. So I think maybe could be one of those things where he was like, when he was a little kid, he's like, this clown is totally cool and it's colorful. And then he got older and he was like, this clown is fucking terrifying and I hate it. And what the hell? Why is this in my house? So
at some point, the switch just flipped between like this tree wants to hug me and this tree wants to carry me away.
Exactly. It's like opening Pandora's box, which I actually found out recently was originally a jar, not a box. Anyway, but yeah, it was a mistranslation. And
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a jar kind
Pandora's
of makes more sense.
but it doesn't have the same ring to it, you know?
Well, that's
Pandora's
because you
jar.
haven't heard Pandora's jar 1,000 times your whole life. But if you had, then you'd be saying the opposite.
Nah.
But anyway, it was like Pandora's box opening. And as you get older, you start to see the world as it is, and the fear comes in, and you drink,
Mhm.
the
We're
trudge
hip
of
to the
time,
jive.
adultness. It's all terrible. But he realized that clowns were bad, and if only he'd realized a week sooner, so he could have thrown that shit out before it strangled him. Poor kid. um,
So I know like Poltergeist is cursed, allegedly, like the whole
yeah,
production
Yeah.
and stuff. But I don't know if I like read it or I heard it somewhere, but didn't the actor almost get like actually strangled by the clown one
yeah.
time? Like
The mechanism that went around his like neck or something. I think it was actually the part where he's under the bed. And the clown's like on him. Something happened, and he was saying, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." And Steven Spielberg thought he was riffing, and he was like, "Yeah, guy, get it, acting." And then he was like, "Oh shit, he's turning purple," and so he like
oh
rushed
no.
onto the scene, and saved him. So yeah, and there was also a rumor that that kid died, but he didn't die. He is alive still. That man is
Well, the
still
other
fine.
two kids
Well,
are dead, so
I
R.I.P.
know.
to
Yeah.
them.
Oh, so
Sad.
terrible. I mean, do we want to talk about the curse now, or do we want to talk about the curse later? We could talk about it now.
Okay. Well, we're already talking about it. So yeah, I mean,
We're already talking about it. Let's go.
let's seize the moment.
The curse is really interesting. Because I feel like it could be I like to believe in curses because I think
Mhm.
that's fun, even though a curse in of itself is not that fun. But a lot of people think the curse fell upon Poltergeist because we'll get to the scene a little later, but there is a scene with many, many, many skeletons.
So many
And
skeletons.
the main actress, mom lady, I will look at IMDb, I promise, but I haven't yet.
Joe Beth something,
Joe
right?
Beth. She is so
Willis?
hot. It is absolutely
She
outrageous.
is very sexy in that.
I'm in love with her. She
Williams.
did that whole scene. It was terrible. So apparently it stinked like shit because they used peat instead of mud, or instead of dirt, and so it smelled horrible. And she was mashing around with all those skeletons, and it was terrible. And then years later, she ran into somebody from the props department, and she was like, "Man, it must have been crazy to make all those skeletons. It must have taken you such a long time." And he was like, "Girl, those were real skeletons." And they were real skeletons. Which I'm just like, is that breaking a law? Is that breaking
Not in
any
the
laws?
80s.
Ugh,
There were no
God.
laws in the 80s.
Ugh.
Reagan was president.
Yeah, true,
'Cause
fair.
we know
You're
that
right.
in the giant book that the dad is reading right at the very
Oh,
beginning.
Classic
God.
Simi Valley dad.
Seriously. Oh my God. Yeah. Fuck. The Reagan of it all. We like to forget him. But yeah, so they used the real skeletons, and she didn't know, and she was very happy that she didn't know that at the time. But anyway, people think because they used real skeletons, they broke one of Saum from Trick or Treat's rules, where they disrespected the dead, and therefore a curse was brought upon the whole cast and crew who worked on this movie. So the first person from this cast to meet an untimely end was Dominique Dune. She played Dana. She was actually 22 at the time of filming, though she was playing a 16-year-old. And here's a fun fact: her dad is named Dominic, and her name is Dominique.
That.
I think that's fun. It's very Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jaden Willow. Okay, we did it. Anyway, she was 22 years old, and just a few months after this movie wrapped, or after it came out, excuse me, she was killed by her ex-boyfriend. It was really, really terrible. It was awful thing. She like survived the initial attack and went to the hospital, and then she didn't end up making it, and it turned into this whole like legal battle where the guy did not get tried to the fullest extent of the law, and it was just
He
really,
only
really
served,
tragic.
What, like 4 years in prison?
He got he was, oh my God, I can't remember the word for when you lose the case.
Convicted?
convicted. Thank you. Couldn't think of the word convicted. He was convicted just for voluntary manslaughter instead of like fucking murder. And it was it was a strangulation. So I don't know how that happens. But yeah, and so it was just incredibly tragic. But there are several other people who were involved with the film who died over the years as well. So the next person from the Poltergeist franchise, not just necessarily the first movie, was someone named Julian Beck, and they played a protagonistic character or protagonist in the second film named Kane. I haven't seen it. And he passed away at 60 after a battle with stomach cancer. And this ended up being his final film, Poltergeist 2. And then after that, there was another character from Poltergeist 2, Will Sampson, who played a ghost named Taylor. And he died in 87 after a lengthy illness. But it was also right after the film came out. And then the saddest one is our little baby Carol Ann, played by a little actress named Heather O'Rourke, who actually she was discovered like really randomly, not that randomly. She was on like the set of MGM. And Steven Spielberg saw her eating lunch with her mommy, and he was like, "That girl looks like a little baby angel. Looks just like baby Sydney. We gotta cast her." So that's how she was fine. They almost went with Drew Barrymore. But Heather O'Rourke, she had an undiagnosed like bowel obstruction, like stomach problem for years and years, and they didn't know. And then when they finally figured out what was going on, they weren't able to save her, and she died at just 12 years old.
And she died in San Diego, which is something, there's like another weird little theory thing. So in their room above Robbie's bed, there is a Super Bowl poster. But this movie takes place in like 1982. But the Super Bowl poster says 1988. And it's like set in San Diego, which is where like Carol Ann died. It's like, so
That's
everybody's
so
like, did the Super
weird.
Bowl poster predict the future?
That is bizarre. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
I guess there were just like a lot of weird kind of supernatural occurrences like linked with this movie in general. Obviously there's all of the very real tragedies that happened. But then there's stuff like that, and there's stuff like Jo Beth Williams, the mom, said that when she was filming this movie, whenever she would come home from set for the day, like the photos in her house would be like crooked, and every time she fixed them, she'd come home and they'd be crooked again. And Zelda Rubinstein, who plays Tangina, who I'm obsessed with, by the way.
Oh my God. Iconic.
But she said that when they were filming, she had a vision of like her childhood dog, or not childhood dog, but her family dog coming and saying goodbye to her. And then like just hours after that, her mom called her and told her that their dog had passed away. So there's like,
Tangina was an IRL psychic though.
Love that though.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a normal experience for Tangina.
Yeah, in real life, she had this great quote where she was like, "Everyone has the opportunity to receive these messages, but it's so jarring that people turn it off, but I haven't," or something like that. And I was like, yes, bitch, I agree.
Okay, one, I want to go back to the Super Bowl thing because
you're a football girly, sure.
Well, one, it's even freakier.
Okay.
So this article on Nightmare Nostalgia says, okay, so the 1988 Super Bowl between the Redskins and the Broncos landed on January 31st, 1988, which marks the day young Poltergeist star Heather O'Rourke fell fatally ill and consequently died the following day with a confirmed report of septic shock.
Dude.
She literally died. She like got sick the same day that poster like did the Super Bowl and then died the next day.
Fuck that.
That's terrifying.
Fuck that. And oh, man. Yeah. So there are all these like weird supernatural occurrences. And then one more of the actors faced mortal peril, but did not actually die. And that's Richard Lawson. And he plays what character, Chelsea? Ryan, thank you.
And
I found this like article that's like from the Tampa Bay Times, like from 1992, that's like called Survivors Tell How They Cheated Death. And straight up, this is like a Final Destination moment that poor Richard had to go through. Yeah. Like it's I didn't finish the whole thing, but I'll post it in the references, but it's like a bunch of different or a few different survivors of this flight. There were 27 passengers who were killed, but 24 people managed to survive this flight. It was USA Air Flight 405. And oh my God, it's so scary. Like people talk about how they felt like a weird, ominous vibe as the flight was leaving. They like one guy said he like tightened his seatbelt extra because he just felt unsettled. It was like a stormy night. So or like it was before the snow. So it was like icy cold time. So that could have been part of it. But one of the freakiest parts that I saw is that Richard Lawson, the actor from this movie, was sitting in seat like 6A or something like that. And one of the flight attendants saw him and recognized him from being an actor, maybe from seeing Poltergeist, and was like, "Oh, honey, let me get you up into first class," and got him upgraded into first class. And that might have saved his life. He was in the front row. But the people who were in row 6, at least one person in that row died. So if he hadn't been upgraded, that could have been him. So it's just some crazy Final Destination shit in the midst of all these other, or after all of these other, not necessarily suspicious, because a lot of these people were, sick, and that happens. But just so many deaths from a franchise. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always bound to be spooky little stories around horror movies whenever anything goes wrong. You know what I mean? I think, aren't there like whispers about Rosemary's Baby being a haunted film as well?
And The Exorcist.
Yeah, I think this movie in particular is like one of the quote unquote like most haunted, most cursed films that people talk about. Which, I mean, obviously it really lends itself to that in terms of the subject matter, but
yeah, it totally adds.
It's weird when there's so many coincidences and when there's so many things all wrapped up in it. Especially though, it's interesting because, like I was saying earlier, there's not really any fake blood in this movie. Like the only on-screen death in this film is Tweety.
That's because this movie originally was a PG rating.
Yeah,
it was still a PG rating.
The PG-13 didn't exist at the time, and they cut out all of the other dark, grim stuff so that they could get there, and also so that Carol Ann survived the film.
Thank God. That would have been pretty grim. Yeah, I mean, that said, there's all this lore and all these vibes around this movie, making it extra scary, making it like an urban legend, but it stands on its own because I've seen it without knowing about any of that shit, and I still was scared. And I've seen this movie I think at least twice before watching it today, and I still felt scared today. Like it just do a good job of unsettling you, I think, in this. And obviously the effects are a little hokey now to our modern eye, but I just like I can imagine how that would have rocked my shit.
I think the effects honestly like hold up really well still.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite scene is the chair stacking scene.
The chair stacking scene.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they did that in one take.
Oh.
Yeah. What they did was what they like put the camera moves away and so you can't see it, and they just like had people run onto the set, grab the 4 chairs, and then they had like a pre-constructed pyramid of chairs and sat it on the table. So it was live.
That makes sense.
They're doing it live.
Yeah, I mean, some of it looked really cartoony and like animated to me, but then there are some bits that are so good. Like when that one guy from the paranormal crew is like pulling his fucking face off in the bathroom.
That was so
crazy
good.
to me.
That whole sequence was so fucked up with the steak and the maggots
Yeah.
and it's moving
Mhm.
around. I was immediately like red flagging that though, because he like pulled just like a steak with no wrapping out of it around it out of the fridge. I was like, you're gonna cook a steak right now in the middle of the fucking night?
He's gonna cook somebody else's steak in somebody else's home in the middle of the night while they're all sleeping. What a weirdo.
Very bizarre. But the hand, like that moment with the face, with him ripping his face apart, that prosthetic was like super fucking expensive apparently. I mean, it was gorgeous, so of course it was, and they only had one, so like they only had one chance, and so the actor was like, I don't want to fuck this up, and it didn't necessarily have to be him because it just like, it's not
Yeah, it's
actually
not
a real
his real
face.
face. Uh-huh.
So they're like, who could do this? Who do we trust to do this? And so they're like, Steven. And they had Steven Spielberg do it. And he apparently was like super giddy to be asked. And so those are his hands ripping the shit off of that face.
Classic Steven.
Oscar for
Classic
Steven. He doesn't have enough. He needs one more.
I know there's so Steven Spielberg wrote and produced this movie, and there was always a big, did he actually direct this movie and just had Toby, what's his last name?
Hooper, I think.
Hooper, like say, because when he was working on E.T. in his contract, it was like, you can't work on any other pictures. And
E.T. was Universal and this one was MGM. So
yeah, so like big no. And so there's always where like some people were like, yes, he did direct it, and everybody was like, no, it was Toby Hooper. And I feel like Toby Hooper actually directed it, but Steven was there, and if he made suggestions, like he wrote the movie, he's producing the movie, he
helped for sure.
You're gonna go.
The sense that I'm getting from IMDb trivia is both that Steven Spielberg was kind of jumping in at moments when Toby Hooper wasn't necessarily. Steven Spielberg said at one point, like, Toby's not a take charge kind of guy, and then he like later took it back and apologized because I think he was maybe being a little snarky. But it sounds like they had some on-set conflicts, maybe a little bit, just in terms of like who was
not outwardly though.
Yeah, it was
there
very
are a
much
lot
like
of articles that were like, yeah, like Toby, if Toby was offended by him being involved, he like never showed it.
But yeah, the DGA, based on like those claims, the Directors Guild of America apparently like investigated whether Steven Spielberg needed a co-director's credit, and they determined he didn't. So I don't know what that was based on, but
it was just an investigation. A rumor mill, because they like, he was such a big name at the time, so they were like, he actually did it, and they were like, don't shit on Toby Hooper, okay? He did Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I did think it was interesting though, because when the film opened with the credits, I was like, oh, Steven Spielberg directed this, because I didn't know that. And then later it was like directed by Toby Hooper, and that was one of the last credits, and I was like, oh, so what did it say about Steven Spielberg? But I think it just said like a Steven Spielberg film or something like that.
Yeah.
And he wrote it.
Well, there you go.
And he almost wrote it with Stephen King. But Stephen King was on a slow boat across the Atlantic when the offer came in, so he missed it. And that's why he didn't work on the project. He was literally at sea. He's like, sorry, I'm at sea.
I'm at sea.
Okay. I wouldn't put it past
hilarious.
It's so funny. I love it so much. But apparently Hooper directed the TV mini-sode or whatever that's called, mini event of Salem's Lot, which I just finished reading. So your girl is gonna watch that shit. I'll let you know right now. But anyway, we started talking about how the spookiness begins. I mean, there's an iconic line where, I mean, oh God, if your kid is talking to the TV, if my kid ever was talking to any little shit that I couldn't see, I would be fucking freaked out, because I believe in those things. And also even if it's their imaginary friend. We've all seen Don't Look Under the Bed. And so we know that imaginary friends can go south too. So, you just got to
Even if
check
they're
in
a
on
nice friend. Yeah, that's the problem. Once they start talking, they've got to keep talking to that imaginary friend forever, or it's going to become a boogeyman.
I know.
Yes.
Dangerous. I had a whole imaginary zoo. I'm waiting to be killed. I could be killed at any time. It's very stressful. But yeah, I mean, she just did such a good job. That little girl, Carol Ann, she was so perfectly sweet and innocent. She's like, I can't hear you. Wakes up the whole house. Oh my God. There is a Twilight Zone episode that is similar to this. I didn't see this anywhere. But I wonder if it was an inspiration for Steven Spielberg and the other writers. But there's a similar thing that happens where a little girl gets like pulled into a wall. It's like there's like a secret passageway in a wall behind her bed. Not a secret passageway. I'm sorry. It's like a vortex to another dimension. Pardon.
Okay.
It is certainly not a secret passageway. And she like falls through it and is lost in the walls in the house. So very, very similar concept, but like different reasons why. And I think a sadder outcome, TBH. But I feel like that could have been inspiration for any of my Twilight Zone heads out there. But I mean, the "they're here" quote is just so perfectly eerie. It's just we love a spooky kid. Sydney,
I love a good spooky kid.
She's you. I watched it and I was like, this is Sydney. This is Sydney as a child. Sydney would talk to ghosts
in my house.
Yeah.
So
it is Sydney. It is 100% Sydney. And then I later on found that I related to someone in the film. And then I felt bad about it because, we have our beautiful mom and she discovers that there's some spooky business going on in the house. And then she immediately starts playing with the ghosts and scooting around on the chair and shooting her daughter through the ghost energy with a helmet on and all of this stuff. And I was like, I would try to play with the ghost. I would try to talk to the ghost as an adult and be like, I can reason with the ghost. It'll be fine. I would do that. And then I would get into one of these horrible scenarios. I could see myself doing that. I'm not proud of it.
It helps that she doesn't think it's a ghost. Like, she's not jumping to ghostly explanations. She's talking to her husband later and being like, I think it's science. I just don't think I am a scientist. So she's like, there's something going on with it. Especially this is after what they think is like the earthquake the night before. So I'm sure she's like, oh, maybe the ground is like slightly uneven now in a way that's causing the chair to be rickety and then slide around or whatever. Like she thinks there's some reasonable explanation that she just doesn't have the knowledge to really engage with.
That said, though, she also was so shooken up by little baby girl Carol Ann when she said they're here, because the next morning over breakfast she's like, what did you mean by that, honey?
What was that about, you little freak?
Girl?
Yeah,
little
that
freak.
was kind of unsettling. So I mean, and she looked very haunted with her beautiful face and her gorgeous hair. Oh my God, give me the tutorial, girl. But yeah, I loved that. And there's the scene where they go to ask the neighbors what the fuck is up was so funny.
I
and
love
so
all this shit with the
bizarre.
neighbor.
The whole shit with the neighbor was hilarious. I mean, the neighbor does help a little bit, but not that much. Not that much. I mean, he gives her one helping hand. Okay, it was helpful.
Yeah,
it's hard to get out of mud. Have you ever tried to climb up mud? It's very difficult, very hard. But everybody, there's like all these great like 40-year anniversary articles and interviews with the cast about this movie, because guess what? This came out in 1982, and guess what? It's 2022. Can you do math? It's been 40 years.
Wow.
That's why they just released Poltergeist on 4K Ultra on digital.
On
digital. They did. It's a 40th anniversary thing. All right. We're excited. We respect it. And it looks fucking good. I will say that. But there are all these articles with the actors and actresses in the movie, and they're like, yeah, people thought we were high for that scene. And no, that really wasn't what we were going for. We weren't trying to be high, but I could see how you could see that. We were just we were actually hysterically laughing because Steven Spielberg started telling us to pretend there were bugs all over us. And so that
they were in a silly, goofy mood.
I don't understand that part. I was like, is bugs gonna be part of it? Yes, there are maggots later, but like the mosquitoes, they're like, oh, we're being hit. Get all these mosquitoes are getting me all the time. Oh my god! And then it never was relevant again.
I think it was just like a way for them to go to their neighbor and be like, are you also experiencing anything weird? Like,
but they actually were putting ointment on when they go back to the house. So they were actually being bitten. They literally have ointment on their face.
They have this standing water in the not finished pool in the backyard from the storm. That'll draw mosquitoes. I just thought it was funny.
That's the real ghost.
Yeah. What was funny was that Ben was like, actually, I've never been bitten by a mosquito in my life, and neither has literally anybody in my family. You can ask my son right now. Son, have you been bitten by a mosquito? I don't know. See, he doesn't know. I was like, what is going on here?
Absolutely bizarre. Like people are like, the movie's really good, and that seems really weird.
They're back and forth with the remote earlier in the film, changing each other's channels. I just love
that. Unnecessary. So hilarious.
I thought it was great.
It was good. We need a little levity, okay? We need something that's just like, why is that in there? Because that's why. Don't ask questions.
Do you think that Ben thought when they were first coming over and being like, something back at our house, and they're being like so giggly, do you think that he thought that he was being approached for a scenario? If you know what I mean.
Hey, my wife and I saw you from across the yard. We were staring at you through the window. And we love your vibe. Do you want to come over?
Yeah, he's like, Diane, my wife and I were wondering, Ben, and they're trying to lure him to their house. I'm just saying. But I do like that they are slapping themselves in the face because of the mosquito. I mean, maybe it was literally just to like discredit them in front of the neighbors. You know what I mean? Like maybe the mosquitoes were part of the haunting in the sense that they didn't want, I don't know, just their house is being targeted. When it's the whole fucking neighborhood. But
people think that the reason that their house is being targeted is because he works for the real estate agency. So like in this theory, he's the only person who works for the company who lives there,
who like has the agency to be haunted.
Yeah. And
also Carol Ann basically invites them into the home, so that
100% does.
Has an element. Like nobody else maybe had a child who was talking to the spirits
TV
through the
people.
TV static. Yeah.
But yeah, I God, the scene where all the shit really starts to get real is just so spectacular on so many different levels. Like we get a tree that eats a young boy. It literally opens up its mouth and it goes
munches on
gobble,
him.
gobble, gobble.
Nom, 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 nom.
It reaches into the house and it goes, gotcha. And then, I mean, who hasn't been scared of a tree? I certainly have. You heard of Ents? Okay, they're scary. And wise. And there's trees outside my house, so I have to say nice things about them. You never know. But I feel so bad for little Carol Ann. They're like, sorry, we got to deal with this big tree thing right now, and no one can hear her scream.
Right? They just left poor little Carol Ann alone.
Don't you hate it when you're in your room and you're all cozy and then your closet door opens and it turns into a giant vortex that sucks you into limbo?
Yeah.
Honestly,
I mean,
it
here's
really
the thing.
harshes the bedtime mellow, you know?
Yeah. Okay, talk about this is why I get scared to turn off my light in my closet. She wants it on. I don't want to even go near my closet because I look in there and I see how messy it is. And that's why. But
well, but I was like her. I slept with I had a walk-in closet like that, and I slept with it on, I don't know, 98% of my childhood. And so I really related to that as well. And it was both one of those things where it was like the closet with the light on was a safe little place, but also the closet with the light on had a little bit of a mysterious energy because it was like, for me in my house, at least, maybe also their house if it's the same designer. That was where like the hatch was to access any attic space. And so I was always like, something spooky is in there. And actually the mom did something in this movie that my mom did to me that was it a good choice? I don't know. It must be hard to be a mom, but for me, I guess I could like hear birds and stuff that would get in there, and that was scary to me. And I thought there was something in the attic. And so my mom told me actually a monster lived under my bed, but it protected me from the bad monsters in the attic.
Okay.
And it's the dad in this movie. He says, actually, that tree's not scary. I got that tree to protect you from scary things. And it's like, well, now you're telling me there are scary things and I need to be protected from them. So that also is a little worrying.
Like, okay, Dad, we didn't need that. Thanks. Actually.
What if there were no monsters? Did you consider that as an option for what you tell your child?
Oh my God.
I mean, if you can't make the scary things go away though, as a parent, I guess maybe you just invent a guardian. I don't know.
This is your guardian tree.
This is your protector monster. Okay. Scary.
The other thing, okay, after this initial gobbling of both children, I like that there's like an indeterminate amount of time that has passed before they find the spooky squad to come help them with their ghosty problem. Because they've like all developed this like whole like way of life.
Yeah, no, they've got like an established routine basically of like, oh, here's how we talk to Carol Ann, and like, oh, we haven't gone to the police yet to report our child missing because what are we gonna say? She's in the TV. So she's not missing. We know exactly where she is right here in the TV.
They're like so nonchalant about it.
There's no crime to report just yet. Oh,
well, but
girl?
They look so like harried and like
he looks like he hasn't slept in weeks.
He looks exhausted. The makeup team went off on those bags under his eyes.
Oh yes, but still so sexy.
Still so sexy. What a guy.
So sad. So
they're a hot
sexy.
couple.
They are
so
absolutely.
I want what they have.
Like this is the kind of couple that I want like to be. This is my couple goals. Like
like I just like that even when he was reading the Reagan book and she was telling a story, he was still engaging with the story. You know what I mean? Like she was talking about her dad. And he's like Big Ed or like whatever the dad's name was. Yeah.
And, like he's reading a horrible book and she's like rolling a joint, telling a fun story, and he's like, "Oh yes, of course." And the story she's telling is how she used to sleepwalk and she ended up in some guy's car when she was 10.
And then
and he like drove her to work and then was questioned by the police. Like
hilarious,
except for the fucked up part where she's like, and my dad had the doctor check me for hickeys. Like I mean, I get that
of it all.
Yeah, nothing happened. And so it's just a funny little story of like, haha, I just slept walk, but my dad thought something really genuinely terrible had happened to me.
Big Ed, what a great
anyway,
dark.
It is, I guess, funny in hindsight.
But okay, I really love our spooky crew that we get here to save or attempt to save the day. And I really love that they're so serious. And they're like, we have seen some shit, y'all. Okay. In case you wanted to know. And then Ryan is like, I'll have one time over a period of 7 hours, I saw a little car move 7 feet. Yeah. So
it's pretty serious.
I have the video if you want to see it. And then they open that fucking door and it's like a tornado of like protractors and crazy shit. Like there's definitely a protractor in there. And I felt proud that I knew that word.
That is good because I called it a compass in my notes and I was like, I don't think this is right, but I don't know what else to call it.
the protractor, baby. It comes right at her. Imagine if
And
they
then
had
it plays?
3D.
Okay, but when it's on the record and you can hear the record playing because
Right.
like the sharp point of the protractor is acting like a needle,
Chaos.
loved it. Great
Loved
little
it.
bit.
These ghosties, these poltergeisties, I guess is the one malevolent guy, the poltergeist, and then everybody else is just a ghosty. I feel like that's probably what the vibe is.
I think so. There's just the beast and then the ghosts.
Well, I feel like the ghost, because poltergeist is German for like noisy ghost or something like that. Like that's what poltergeist means. So I feel like all the other ghosts, like the ones moving the chairs, like those are just having like a silly, goofy time.
Well, but
And
those
then
would be the
beast is-
poltergeists. The beast is a haunting.
Yeah.
Because they say I wrote down their
a classic combo, haunting plus poltergeist.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can argue that there's no poltergeist. There was just a misunderstanding. But I think you can also make the argument that the other ghosts were behaving as poltergeists. But what they say the difference is that poltergeists are not associated with a place. They're associated with an individual. Hauntings are connected to an area, a house usually. Poltergeists go on for like short durations, maybe months, and hauntings can go on for years. And hauntings don't usually revolve around living people. So like Carol Ann, they were saying, was like the interesting part, but obviously now we know that there was like a bunch of bodies under the house. So
I also wonder, and there's no way to know if this is true or not, but this is a thought my brain had. I was like, is part of the reason that this happened because she was born in the house and like life was created in the house? Okay,
why
yeah,
include that
same
detail
brain.
otherwise?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like that's got to be, in the logic of the dead and the undead, and
right?
Because like
she was born where all these people like were dead.
Their
Maybe
bodies
like that's like a thing.
Maybe it's even a home birth. Maybe they really mean it when they say she was born at that home.
I think it was like a home birth.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I hope so. Otherwise, my little theory I'm saying
that's very
sense, but
Final Destination 2 of them in a theory capacity.
Life.
Obviously, we didn't see that pay off in Final Destination 2.
Yeah.
But so we don't know. Yeah. We don't know what the truth is. But that would definitely make sense why she has like a greater connection to that element than any of the other family members at the bare minimum.
I want to know why now, like 5 years later, these ghosties, is it because they are putting in the pool?
It could be that, but it also could be that they're planning to do it again.
Yeah, with that other cemetery.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know the ghosts' motives here. Like, why now have they decided to do the haunt?
The thing is, watching this movie now, I know how influential it is because this movie is the reason that I had that Are You Afraid of the Dark existential crisis that led me to have that Alien versus Predator existential crisis later on. And the theme is when you leave the fucking bodies, then ghosties come and they fuck you up. And especially if there's a pool. I've talked about this on the pod before, but there's that episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark where they put a public pool on top of a cemetery and they forgot to move one of the bodies. And then someone goes swimming and it comes out of the drain and it grabs a kid's foot. Fuck me up for life. Okay. So it's because of Poltergeist, the influence that this movie has had on my life.
The power.
I'm feeling haunted.
That is an interesting question though, because like for me, the question is less about the ghosts and more about the beast. And I almost kind of feel like it was normal ghosty times. Maybe the ghosts were more active because of the pool or because they were talking about doing the same thing with another cemetery. I feel like Carol Ann going into the TV is like what drew the beasts. Well, yeah, I feel like her engagement with that is like what drew the beast's presence. And that's what like escalated this situation. You know what I mean? I'm just vibing though. So I mean, I haven't thought about it that much.
It also could be that like the beast was just like around and then he decided to unionize all the ghosts and so they rose up and they defeated.
Well, he's
The
not
real estate
unionizing them.
company.
He's being mean to them because Carol Ann is going to lead them into the light, and the beast is restraining them. Tangina says.
Oh, well, he's just trying to run amok first. You know, he's like, we got to fuck shit up. We got to destroy this entire,
The
what is it
beast
called
must
when all the houses are the
feed.
exact same? What is it called? What's it called when all the houses are the same?
Cookie cutter.
I don't know.
Planned community. I don't know. We got to fuck this shit up. I don't, those
Model
give
homes.
me the heebie-jeebies anyway when all the houses look the exact same. It very much scares me. And so perfect setting for a horror movie for me. Absolutely stunning.
I don't know. I've been watching a lot. I've been rewatching Stranger Things. And since I've been rewatching Stranger Things, I'm seeing how much in conversation with like horror in general it is. But there's a lot in this movie that rang really familiar, both with like the breakfast scene in the beginning with like the Wheeler's house, and how they've got like the teenage sister and then the younger boy and then the little baby girl. The rope like through the portal and like Carol Ann being on the other side and talking through the electronics, that's all like very upside down status stuff.
That is.
Totally. I love seeing that. I love seeing like, oh, that's where you fucking got that from.
The Duffer Brothers are, I don't want to say plagiarizing because I think it's with love and I think it's intentional and I think it's an homage, but they're stealing left and right from like every single big movie and horror, basically. Like they did The Thing, they did Poltergeist, like they're covering a lot of ground.
They're like, we're gonna take a little of this and add it into here. New thing.
People love it so much. It's like familiar themes packaged up differently, you know. So
especially
like that's
the
why
80s
like
stuff.
Across, because it's set in the 80s or like partly. And so people are like, wow, true to life. This is what it was like to be a horror fan in the 80s.
Fun costume.
A similar idea to what we were just talking about. So Chelsea, same brain. There is a part before we bring in the big guns with Tangina. Is that her name?
I fucking love Tangina.
Tangina,
I would die for Tangina.
For Tangina. They've like, you know, they're fucking around. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They see all those lights. They see the little ghosty people wearing interesting hats. And then also that portal opens up in the ceiling in the living room and all that shit falls through and it's all other people's shit. And I immediately was like, nope. The movie.
Yes.
It's just like nope. It's just like nope.
And there was a part where the spirits were like very tentacly also that reminded me of that.
Yeah. I thought that was cool. I don't know if that's what partly inspired it, but like I feel like it definitely should. And I also I was like, what the fuck is that shit? And it's so subtle, but they're like, it's not subtle, but it's not that big of a part of the movie, but it's like items from the ghosty people. Like it's the dead people's items. And then it becomes more clear why that is because they're all still fucking down there.
Under there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really liked that detail. It was like just a little spice on top. But
for sure fun and spooky, especially with them being like, this watch is only a few years old. And like, this thing is like 30 years old. I didn't remember the year. Thank you. But I think that obviously makes a lot of sense if this housing tract was only built like 7 years ago, you know what I think he says like 76 or something in the movie. And that would be 6 years before 82. And so like they had just moved in when they had Carol Ann. But it's super interesting to think about like I was gonna say variety, but that doesn't feel like a good word to use. Yeah, the variety of bodies buried in there. Such a fun variety pack.
It's diverse, okay?
Yeah. But like the range of the potential ghosts that they're dealing with, you know what I mean? They've got recent ghosts. They've got potentially very old ghosts. It's they didn't like display that much. They didn't really get into that, but that could have been a fun little thing to play with.
Yeah, I feel like the ghosts have more personality in the sequels, which is what I'm getting because people like were cast as the ghosts and you know who they are and blah 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 blah. Just based on like the gentleman who passed on, who we discussed earlier. So I'm interested to see the sequels. I'm sure they are not very good, but I will definitely be watching them. But I just love that our pals, they tried, they did their darndest. The guy who rips his face off is like, bye. Actually,
I cannot do this.
he's like,
anymore.
actually,
I think that's a
see
very
you
fair
fucking
boundary to
later.
set. Yeah.
I would absolutely lose my mind if I had that hallucination. I would surely not recover. So I hope he's okay. But we're our guy Ryan, he's still there. What is the redhead lady's name?
Dr. Lesh.
Dr. Lesh. I love her. I feel like she is giving me, I'm projecting my mommy issues onto her. And like she's my spooky mommy who will help through me through this scary journey.
Yes.
And I love that she can recognize when she is not equipped. She's like, this is no toy car. This is much larger than that. So she brings in the big guns in the form of the tiniest woman ever born.
She is so small, and she has the best voice.
Her voice is spectacular. And also, the only flaw that anyone has ever had in this movie, any of the characters, they're all wonderful, except when the dad doesn't believe that Tangina can fuck this shit up because she's a tiny little lady. And I'm like, how fucking dare you, bitch?
I do think it was funny that she asked him a question and he doesn't answer, and then he's like, I was trying to answer with my mind. Like,
Right.
that's iconic a little bit.
That's very man humor.
He's like,
too.
I was trying to answer. And then Tangina's like, yeah, bitch. And I heard you, but I thought you were being rude.
I don't respond
I
to
don't
trickery.
play your games.
Mm-hmm. She don't want to be tested. And you know what? Well,
She said,
I was going to
fuck
say
around and find out. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say fair enough. But actually, is it fair enough when she's like, this house is cleaned, perfect, pristine. My job here is done. Goodbye. And then the movie continues after that point.
Yeah, she's not as good as she thinks that she is, but she didn't realize
she's
what
not. She
reckoning
did
with.
help rescue Carolyn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She very much accomplished a lot. We're not taking any of that for granted. So again, we love Tangina. We stand Tangina.
She's incredible, and she's very she's like forceful, and I like that. She's like, you better tell that girl that she better go to that light or she's gonna fucking die. Like,
You're gonna get
right
a
now.
spanking if you don't go to that light. And he's like, I would never hit my child
them if they don't threaten to do a spank. I did like that the dad was like, we're both gonna spank. He didn't want to take on that role alone.
Yeah.
He was like, if we are being mean to our daughter, we're both being mean to our daughter. How dare you make me the bad guy? Yeah.
While she's stuck in the freaking ether. I just thought that the whole scene leading up to like them going through the portal was really, really awesome. Great, like emotional tension. The actors slayed it in this. They're was really moved. Good. I was moved. And I think that the rope idea was actually a really good idea. I want to know why everything that goes through there comes out all goopy. It makes me feel gross, but I like it.
It's like a supernatural vagina.
Yeah. It's giving, it was
they
giving
had a water
bloody
for
pus.
Caroline both times.
It's giving ghost-ussy, gussy.
Ugh.
No, take it back.
No,
it's very nasty.
Gussy.
Ectoplasm is what it is, maybe. Or it's the inside of the beast.
Ectoplasm.
The beast has that big gaping maw that is the whole closet at that one point. And it's got that little tongue that snakes
like the vagina.
Out.
It did.
If you just like really look right into like one.
It also gave me Snake-O-Vision flashbacks.
Inside
John Voight does come out all goopy afterwards.
Oh my God. It's just a giant snake.
A big snake.
My big thought that I had in this movie that I thought was a really good thought, but it's probably not, is now. Here it comes.
Okay.
There's the very dramatic part where they tie the wife to the rope and the husband is holding it and she's like don't you let go of that rope. And he's like, never. And can you believe that that was James Cameron's inspiration for that moment in Titanic? Never let go
Was
of
it
that.
really?
No.
Oh. The way that you were like, this is my
Was
joke,
that
I'm telling my
believable?
joke next. Because I also thought about Titanic when I watched it, and I was like, wow. And it's
I was
just
like-
as romantic.
I was like, wow, who knew that James Cameron watched Poltergeist and was like, I'm going to use this for my boat drama.
Look, I was gonna
was
say I
moving.
would believe it, and I did briefly for a moment believe it. So
I mean, maybe it's true. I didn't look up
Maybe it's
Titanic
true.
X Poltergeist, but I will soon. Wow.
nobody
Thank you,
debunked that
Chelsea.
myth. Yeah, I'm on
Thanks,
board.
Chelsea.
I'll
That
spread
gave
that
me a
rumor
lot
with
of-
you.
Thank you. I was like, this joke isn't going to land. And it landed so well that you thought I was telling the truth. So thank you so much.
Incredible.
Incredible.
I can't believe y'all got to witness that, quite frankly. A gift. Our gift to you. Happy Halloween.
Mhm,
Oh.
mhm.
Okay, but did you, Sydney, you might have watched this more times than me. I forgot about the third act of this movie.
I forgot because I was like, this feels like the end, right? And then
Yeah.
I looked and I was like, oh God, there's 20 more minutes.
I know. I was
And
like,
then-
fuck.
Just for the last 20 minutes, they're like, yay! And they go back
They're
to
like,
cooking breakfast and
"We
feeding
are
egos to the dog.
family."
But I was like, did I miss the clown portion? Did I miss? I like completely forgot they are at the very end. Like all the
Yeah.
skeletons, all the clown. JK, we lulled you into a full sense of security.
I was like,
Now we're
I thought that
going.
that clown was more fucked up and more prominent. And then I was like, I remember the pool scene being way worse. Well, just you wait. But yeah, I think that was brilliant to put in that they're not done yet, because
Yeah.
like all the revelations in this final act are just so good. Also, I thought that the mom looked hot with her gray hair.
I
As
did too.
someone-
I would have absolutely kept that.
I have a gray stripe and I'm very proud of it. And I feel like it looks
Mhm.
cool and mysterious. Like maybe I'm Storm or no, Rogue from X-Men.
But yeah, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street came out after this. But Nancy with her gray streak in that movie, that feels
Yeah.
like very much the same vibes as this one. And also in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, the Tweety thing felt very similar to what happened with their birds.
Yes.
Well, those birds blew up.
Yes, but
That
I
is
just
not
it's
same.
not similar, but it felt like
there were birds. An homage.
there was something to it. Yeah, is all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I forgot about
What-
that part where Tweety blew up in Poltergeist.
Maybe Tweety's internal organs did blow up. You don't know
Oh,
what happened to
Oh,
Tweety.
I hope not. Poor Tweety. Poor Tweety. But they do a great job of luring you into a false sense of security, but you know that something's up because it's too fucking mundane. But I love how like panicked the dad is when they're like with the movers. He's like, absolutely. He's like, we're not gonna stay one more minute in this house, and he's smart.
I just really like the conversation the parents have also about talking to the boss, Mr. Teague. Because the dad is like, oh, you know, Teague, he won't go to hell for an answer. And the mom is like, so what are you going to tell him? And he says, I'm going to give him directions. And I thought that was a great little line. And I just think they're in love. And if they kissed 5,000 times in this movie, that would not be enough times. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
They have some really good romantic kisses. They have some good fun kisses. When they mouth I love you to each other, it was like almost as good as like a big sweeping romantic I love them.
I'm
love
obsessed
them.
with them. They're like my favorite horror couple. I was like, how can I be them for Halloween with Adam and make it something that anyone would recognize? So I'd have to have Sydney be Carol Ann. And then Chelsea, how do you feel about being a small boy?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll be Robbie.
You could be Robbie, or you could be Tangina.
Yeah, you're gonna be Tangina.
I'll be
Just because
Tangina.
you're also
I
short
love
and
Tangina.
powerful, so
I love Tangina.
we got to get the whole crew together.
Let's get the gang back together.
Oh my god, Jesus!
Why
Christ.
did the ghost? I don't. Okay. In hindsight, I don't think the ghosts were trying to fuck the mom. But the implications of coming to her on the bed and pulling her shirt up when she's in her sexy little shirt.
They were.
What was that about?
It was supposed to be a sexual assault scene, and it was gonna be way more intense. I know. It was gonna be what Chelsea is looking shocked. That is why I'm saying I know. But then they toned it down.
Good.
To keep the PG rating.
Great.
I just also want to say there is one of the scary movies where they have like this scene basically, but she's like fucking the ghost. Like she's actually like having like hot sex with this ghost. Like,
is it cheating on your husband if you have sex with a ghost?
Ask Lucy
Lou.
But Lucy Lou didn't have a husband at the time, I don't think. She was a free woman,
but
wasn't she?
She has fucked a ghost.
She has fucked a ghost.
She would be the only person.
Didn't Kesha also say she fucked a ghost, maybe?
She also has not been married.
Should I Google celebrities who fucked ghosts? Because I think there's more than one.
I think that you should, and let me know. Ghosts. Report back.
7 celebrities who've had sex with a ghost. That's so many. Okay. Lucy Liu, Anna Nicole Smith, Dan Aykroyd, Paz Huerta, Kesha, Coco Austin, and Natasha Blasek from
I thought you were going to say Bedingfield.
That would be exciting. I think that it is, I don't know. I guess it depends on your relationship. Does your husband even believe in ghosts? If no, then it's not cheating for sure. If yes, maybe you've got some things to discuss.
It seems a little dicey.
It depends how much you are going into the interaction being like, I think a ghost is trying to have sex with me and I'm going to go for it versus, well, I think I just had sex with a ghost.
Is it physical cheating, emotional cheating? Like what kind of cheating are we having?
Do you have a pre-existing relationship with this ghost? We could really go down the list of questions, you know?
This could be a problematic question, but what if every wet dream you've had was actually you having sex with a ghost? I would be excited by that, but it could go either way.
You know, and maybe more of us have fucked ghosts than we realized.
Just like a sexy dream in general or like a wet dream specifically?
I don't know. I haven't fleshed it all out yet.
That'll be a bonus episode sometime. We'll really go through these quandaries.
Ghost sex with Spooky Tuesday. Thank God. Someone's got to do it.
I'm sure there's an expert out there who can really weigh in on these questions. Maybe we'll have Lucy Liu on the pod.
Oh my God.
I fucking love Lucy Liu.
I don't know if I'd be able to handle that.
I would not be able to handle it, but I would persevere so bravely and so strongly that Lucy Liu would fall in love with me.
Damn. That'd be beautiful to behold. I'd just sit there quietly while you guys fell in love and like cry.
She could paint me. She does all those lesbian paintings.
Oh, fuck. Jesus Christ. We can't talk about this anymore.
But yeah, that final scene is so fucked up. It was one thing when I was just like, oh, the rain is bringing the skeletons out of the muddy ground. That makes sense. But then the coffin started really bursting up through the earth. And I was like, okay, this is not just spooky.
They had some gusto.
Spooky, scary.
Yeah.
Birth.
This is the part where I cried. Because it was so cool.
Yeah. And
like,
so when
this
the
is
skeleton
awesome.
When the first skeleton pops up behind her in the pool, that was the moment that made me jump in this movie. Like they give me a jump.
Yeah, it's scary. And they're just like crashing through the ground, destroying the house. Like, oh my God. I loved the dad's like reaction coming home. I was screaming at the TV. I was like, fucking go in the house. Cause he was being shocked for too long. Like you're shocked now that you're seeing crazy lights. There's still, there were ghosts there yesterday. Get in there. But I also love that he takes the time to like grab his boss and be like, you left the body and shake the shit out of him. And also, I love that the beast shoots out a big old red smoke ring and it hits that guy in the face. At least he got punched by a ghost. Do you see that part?
It's important that something happens to him.
It's important.
Apparently audiences like really hated him. And he either worked at or owned like a supermarket chain after that. The actor, and he would get calls being like, I'm never shopping at your store because you're a bitch because of Mr. Teague.
People like really can't like
Separate.
disassociate.
But it's so interesting because I feel like that's always discussed as like a modern phenomenon. Like teens can't separate Lily Reinhart and Cole Sprouse and the shipping, and they're mad because somebody got in the way of Bughead or whatever. But if this has been going on since the 80s, that's just human behavior, and it's not a good human behavior. But let's not pretend it's a modern phenomenon or whatever.
I saw Jack Gleason in real life, aka Joffrey from Game of Thrones. I was walking down the street in Dublin, and I felt like rage when I saw him. I was like, and then I was like, he's just a man, Monica, walking down the street in Dublin.
Well, he is a man, so therefore the rage was totally
fair.
just.
But I just love also that the house goes zoom into the ground.
I hope Dana's friend who dropped her off got out okay.
Okay, but Dana was being so obnoxious where they were like, get in the car. She wouldn't get in the car. And they were like, get in this fucking car.
She had to do her scream. Okay, and it was a good scream. Also shouts out to little Robbie. All of his like very scared sounds when Carol Ann gets sucked into the TV are very grandiose and over the top and wonderful and believable. In that moment, in the very beginning of the movie, I'm jumping around. Sorry, we're talking about but I was like, oh, I am very upset watching this. Like he's bodying this right now. But the final just little segment of this movie is so perfect too, where you see them all just like completely fucked up, staggering into the Holiday Inn. And they go into their room, and the last thing you see is him get this fucking TV out of here.
He's like, nope.
They learn from their mistakes.
Yes, I loved that. But what I also liked is that after that moment, the camera is like pulling away from their motel room door. And as it's like panning back, there's the reflections of what I assume are probably just like street lights or whatever, street lamps. But it almost looks as though there are like ghostly orbs moving away from their room as it pulls back, and the reflections are on like further and further away windows at the motel. And I thought that was good visual imagery for being like, they're okay. The ghosts aren't bothering them. They're done. And they're both rejecting and it's moving on as well. I thought that was a great last image for the film.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a cutie. It's a cutie.
That's so good. But you know, everything can be improved. So how could this movie be gayer?
They could have really been asking Bob to have or Ben to have a threesome. Because that dad could be bisexual.
Oh yeah,
bisexual
for sure.
dad. I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like he is a Republican because he is like in Simi Valley and reading his Reagan book and like in real estate and stuff like that. But I also feel like he was a fraternity brother who like kissed his other fraternity brothers in college. You know what I mean? And they were all like very no homo about it, but it was a little homo as it always is.
It was a little homo.
It was a little homo, let's be honest.
He went over to his neighbor's house and he was like, why don't you change my mind about my Republican views? Sensually.
I would like to think that Dana was going on a girl date.
Cute. Love that for Dana.
In her final scene where she's screaming like a banshee, she has a hickey.
Yes, I noticed that. From a girl,
from a lady.
Yeah. Who else? Where else could this be gayer? I mean, you could you could make any of these characters gay or trans or gender nonconforming in whatever way if you wanted to. Tangina, I feel like certainly does not subscribe to various gender and sexuality norms. She's doing her own thing because she's open to the spirit world, you know what I mean? So she's like, why should I be living by the fake societal rules of this mortal plane? Maybe Ryan and Marty were in a relationship with each other. The two paranormal helpers. Marty's the one I think who tears his face off. And then Ryan is Richard Lawson. They could have been not smooching there, not smooching at their university because they're professionals and they're academics, but in their free time.
Of course.
The parapsychic, whatever, Dr. Lesh.
Dr. Lesh.
She seems like she would be a granola lesbian, like driving a Subaru.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that for her. I'm very into her. I know I said a mommy thing, but like that's like kind of how that works. And so
yes, that is exactly how that works.
It's kind of how that works.
That's exactly how that works.
I support that claim wholeheartedly. There's a lot of queer heroes in this movie. Wow. Who knew? Who knew? Too bad there's one gay villain though, and that's the clown.
The clown is a gay villain.
Terrible.
But the clown, I think, is innocent. The clown just gets possessed by the beast, who is a straight man. So it's like classic straight people trying to take from gay people and then trying to villainize us. Like, how dare you? Just
the trope.
Leave us alone. Be an ally.
Please. Well, that brings us to where would Matthew Lillard fit into this film? And we have established that he is older than I always think that he is. Would he be Robbie's age?
Oh, he could be Robbie. He'd be like 12 at this point.
Yeah, so he could be like, they could age Robbie up.
Or they could make Dana a boy.
And younger.
Swap.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
If you're doing time traveling, Maddie Lily, he can be anybody that we want him to be. I think,
but not the dad, because the dad is so sexy to me in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Craig T. Nelson can stay the dad because he kills it. He does a great job.
He slaps.
But Maddie Lily could be Ben. He could be a fun little Ben. I liked Ben. I'd keep Ben. But if I were to put Maddie Lily in, that could be a fun little spot for him. Oh, he could be Ben's son, who's never been bitten by a mosquito, he doesn't think.
Oh, we laugh.
That would be
that kid could be 12.
For him. That would be perfect. That's the spot. Yeah.
That's the spot.
I love that. Or, just he could be that skeleton beast guy. Just for funsy. Underneath that, a child.
He could be whatever crew member was out of sight dropping pocket watches and jewelry items onto the dusty floor. That could have been his involvement with the film, but yeah, I mean, I think, he wherever he wanted to be. But yeah, I mean, okay, so dumb bitch is next. Who is the dumb bitch in this movie?
We know who the dumb bitch is. It's the fucking boss guy.
Teague.
Yeah.
Fuck him. You don't do that. That's also just so fucked up that all those people are going to that other cemetery to visit their family member and they're not there. It just makes me furiously angry. I think cemeteries are very important.
I do love a cemetery.
They are spooky. Important.
And comforting.
And fun for the whole family.
Go have a nice little picnic with your loved ones or a new friend.
Exactly. And the cemetery that I frequent has many, many deer and wildlife.
And about to have puppets.
Animals. Huh?
And about to have puppets.
Oh, it's not. Unfortunately, my mom's cemetery is not the one that has a museum that is about to have a puppet exhibit. It's the other forest lawn. It's tragic. It's so tragic. No. I'm so upset. So I'd have to do a tour of forest lawns to see her and puppets in the same day.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll just do our own.
I think
we'll
that
bring our own puppets to visit your mom.
But yeah, it's definitely Krieg.
Teague.
Teague.
Mr. Krieg, that was from
Trick or
the
Treat.
last movie that we did.
Oh, see, there's something happening inside this head.
It's just rattling around in there. Just
Rattling
having to
around
fall
in
out.
there.
It's a rhyme. Look, who could blame me for that?
Come on. Okay, so now it's time for our knives out of fives. And please tell me that everyone loved this.
Yeah, I mean, this movie got 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. It got 87% fresh from critics on IMDb and 79% fresh from audiences. And it was even nominated for 3 Oscars. Excuse me.
Ooh.
It was nominated for Best Original Score, Best Sound Effects and Sound Effects Editing, and Best Visual Effects. It didn't win any of those, but 3 Oscar noms, nothing to shake your head at.
Hey, definitely. That's amazing. Ugh. I mean, this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I know that I've been giving a lot of high scores lately, but
we've been doing bangers.
I'm sorry. It's a great fucking lineup. You're gonna tell me not to give a 5 out of 5 to The Sixth Sense and Poltergeist? You're wrong. This movie, I love it. I wish I had seen it as a kid, so I'd have that like kid vibe to it, because I feel like this movie like was really, really popular amongst the chitlin. And I understand why, because it plays on a lot of the childhood fears and all of that. But I just think that it's awesome. The cast is so great. They do a great job letting you get to know them before shit hits the fan. I don't think a lot of horror movies, at least the gimmicky ones, don't really do that well. So I thought that was refreshing. I fell in love twice in this movie. That's amazing. And I don't know. It just, the effects were so cool and so fun, and the concept is so great that I cried. So 5 out of 5 knives for me. That's all I can say.
Same. 5 out of 5. This movie fucking slaps. It is so good. It holds up so well. Like, I love it. I love this movie. It's so good. It hits. I want this relationship that the parents have in this movie. Like, that's what I'm looking for. Like, gonna go update my dating app like profile ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been really lucky to get some good horror romances lately. Like The Sixth Sense and this, like there's a lot of good love story between the two of those. I do think, I don't know how I would feel if I had seen this when I was a kid. I think I would have probably been fucked up about it. Because like I said, it reminds me so much of my house. I was not quite Sydney blonde, but I was a blonde child who was like sneaking around in the middle of the night because I would just like be awake. The dad calls Carol Ann Sweet Pea and my dad called me Sweetie Pea. I think there would have been too many similarities when I was little, and it would have terrified me. That said, as an adult, it, like I said, it feels so cozy. I will say I did get, I don't know if it's a little sleepy, maybe. I don't know if my attention span is just lagging these days, so it could be on me. But there was a part in the movie where I was like, is this over yet? Like, how much longer is this? I started to like drag a little bit.
This movie is a little long.
Yeah, it is 2 hours long. I don't know like what you would have cut necessarily that would not have like taken away from the atmosphere. I think it was, I don't know. Like I said, I don't usually get scared when we watch these movies. And so the fact that this movie did make me jump at one point gets bonus points, but also, while I'm sure the effects were Oscar worthy at the time, it is very silly to me to watch now, so it's hard to imagine it being like too spooky. But it is easily like bare minimum of 4.8 knives out of 5s for me. So that's what I'm gonna give it for now. And then who knows, maybe if I watch it a second time on like a bigger screen where I can really like, if I could watch it on the big screen, you know what I mean, in a movie theater-esque environment, I think it could be a totally different story. I could be immersed in a way that I was like trying to create the immersion at home, but you know, you can't quite do it, especially when you're sitting there taking notes too.
Totally. Oh, Poltergeist, we love you. Big kiss. But we have to move on to greener pastures.
Yeah, we have something next week that we've been talking about for a while. And that I am actually really excited for you to see, because I think I keep forgetting that you haven't seen it, because I saw it when I came out. No, I saw it way before I came out. I saw it when it came out.
I was
Back
like,
in
Chelsea?
2006. I saw it 2 summers ago. No, I saw it back in middle school era when Stephen Strait was my king, because this was also the Sky High era. But we are doing 2006 The Covenant, which is the sexy spooky boy movie for the ages, frankly. And I just think, Chase Crawford, Stephen Strait, Sebastian Stan, fourth boy who's there, and
Timmy
blonde.
Riggins. Which
Yeah,
is like Taylor
Taylor
Kitsch.
Kitsch. Yeah.
But Timmy Riggins.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm ready to be horny on Maine, baby. Let's go.
Toby Hemingway. That's the other guy. Yeah, I mean, there's just it was a very horny flick for the teenage girlies back in the day. And I haven't watched it in years and years and years, so I'm really excited to revisit it. And I can't wait for you guys to see it for the first time.
I literally have no fucking clue what to expect at all. So I'm very excited to go in completely blind and have a sexy experience. It sounds wonderful. But folks, if you're listening, the contest is still going on our social media.
Did you hear that little drop for Poltergeist on 4K Ultra HD on digital? You could have that.
That
could be yours, along with Lost Boys, another 80s banger, which is also very sexy.
What's Sydney's favorite thing?
80s movies.
80s movies.
You gotta get it. You gotta enter. So go to our social media, go to our Instagram, find the post, and follow the rules. You gotta tag 2 people and post it in your stories and tag us. And you only can do this until the 30th of October at midnight Pacific Standard Time. Excuse me, 11:59. Okay, and we're gonna
just
check.
To be clear, so you don't have to worry about which midnight it is, the midnight before the 30th or the midnight on the day of the 30th, which is technically the 31st at that point.
So it's the 30th at 11:59.
Yeah. By the time it's Halloween in California, the contest has ended.
So time's a wasting. Get over there. Enter our giveaway. It's going to be a fun one. We're very excited about it. So yeah, if you forgot what our Instagram is, or if you don't follow us, scandal.
Scary.
It's at spooky_Tuesday. And that's also where we're at on Twitter and TikTok. But before I move on, I have to say, I haven't asked you to give us a 5-star review in quite a long time.
Wow.
You guys got let off the hook. You got let off easy for a while. We gave you a little vacation.
Not anymore.
It's over.
Do your part of the job now.
Expectations here.
Pay your
okay?
podcast taxes. Give us a review.
This is a tit for tat relationship. We give you a podcast. You give us a 5-star review. But yeah, consider it. We would love that. And why not a Halloween themed limerick? I don't know. We don't
a limerick? Oh my
I don't
God.
know. I don't even know what a limerick
We're switching it up, baby.
Limerick is a lot more to ask for than a haiku.
Okay, well, if you're feeling inspired by All Hallows Eve, maybe go full limerick. But we accept haikus and we love them, so that's easier. Okay, back to our social media. You can also follow us on Facebook and Tumblr at Spooky Tuesday Pod, and we're on Letterboxd at Spooky Tuesday. And we still have a YouTube video, and you should go like it and watch it because it's fucking amazing. Shouts out to Christian Brune. I think he's got a film coming out very soon, Slashback. So don't miss that. And in the as we said last episode, in the immortal words of Sam from Trick or Treat, thanks for listening to Spooky Tuesday.
Bye, spookies.
What is the matter?
What's the matter? I was trying to answer her with my mind, and she couldn't hear me. Now, I thought you said this Tangina Barons was an extraordinary clairvoyant.
just don't like trick answers.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_omg.